So Jeremy, you're the communications manager of TARC. What exactly does that mean?
Sure, so we've got a lot of things in place and we're always trying to improve service that we have. So a big part of the position of the communications manager is to communicate internally all of those changes, but also to communicate those to the public.
Right.
Whether that's input with that's needed for our LINC program that we're doing for our entire system, or if it's even just a delay for a certain route that you might experience. I guess in general, just communications, anything that people might need to know.
Why is TARC doing this LINC program now?
Sure, so we were founded in 1974, so for about 24 years we kind of just expanded our service and our reach to try to just move as many people as possible, which is always a goal of ours. And with LINC though, although roads don't typically change, those are still in the same place that they were in 1974, some of the centers of employment have.
Right.
And so that's one big part of what we hope LINC is going to be able to do, is just tell us how the community and how the city and the region has changed, and just to make sure that we are connecting those people to those jobs and just the other areas that they want to get to.
How many people actually use TARC to commute to and from work?
So we have, our daily ridership is right about an average of 41,000.
Wow.
And a recent survey that we did showed that of all of those riders, 63% use it to get to work, and another 23% use it to get to school.
Right.
So as far as what transportation is really great at, which is workforce development and economic development, just making those connections, you can see how that really has a huge impact.
And I understand that TARC has also done a lot of just this year with moving into completely new transit cards and trying to go more digital for tickets and apps. And could you talk a little bit more about what has happened just this year?
Sure. Yeah. This has been a big year, and it's going to, even larger things are coming up just around the corner. Like I said, so from 1974 to now, almost 45 years there of service. Some things could have been updated and can be changed. And so under our new director, that's really a huge focus of his. And so in January, we launched MyTARC, the electronic fare card, just so we can, move beyond our paper passes, our paper transfers and tickets. That was a burden on drivers to keep track of transfers. And then on our system as well, our fare box, would have to collect those at the end of the day. We would have to actually turn those over to a security company to process those. And now it's all digital, so it's less work for our drivers. They can focus more on customer service and on reliability of time as well.
And money saved.
Yeah, that's always important.
Of course.
Yeah. So there was the MyTARC launch, which in terms of dramatic shift, that was pretty big, and we were all really surprised and happy with how the whole city and the region too, we serve this 5 counties and 2 states, across in Indiana as well, just got on board and were ready for it, and we really didn't run into any issues other than a couple of technicals on the backside.
Right.
But we were all very impressed with how that happened. And then we have the LINC program, which we've talked about. We have our BRT, our Bus Rapid Transit.
On Dixie Highway.
It's coming up along Dixie Highway. Yeah, that should be opening in the first quarter, so the first season or so of 2020. Okay. So next year, just a few months away. And that's going to be pretty exciting. That's the first rapid transit system in the region. That's a $50 million investment. Not just TARC is not just involved in that. We've got a lot of people who are helping with that in the city.
And what exactly is Bus Rapid Transit? I know I've heard the acronym, and a lot of our listeners really, they hear it, but they don't really understand what that means. What makes it different than just regular buses?
Sure. So it's pretty much right there. It's a bus, but it's it's moving in a more rapid way because of the infrastructure around it. So with that Dixie Highway, so that's going to begin, it's going to run from the Gene Snyder all the way actually to Market Street downtown. So it's going to actually come into downtown, more than just hit Broadway on 18th Street. But that's going to have raised medians along Dixie Highway specifically, where only buses can access that. You're going to have priority lighting for those buses there will
So,
only
and
be...
you mean traffic lights?
Right.
Whoa. So you're saying that the bus might not have to stop at the stoplights the same way regular cars might?
Well, they'll stop there, but the lighting can shift
Right.
if a bus is coming up through
Oh,
it. So
wow.
a little bit more of a priority.
More responsive, yeah.
Right, exactly. And then there's going to be 24 stations along the BRT path, along that corridor, which are going to have electric screens on them where you can
Wow.
see, even if, a rain is coming out, the
Yeah.
weather maps if you need to be under that shelter or something, but it'll also show you any kind of delays or detours for that route.
Wow.
Right, and when that next bus is coming, how far
Mhm.
away is it in real time, and then it'll also have the ability to translate all of that through different languages.
That's incredible. And you said that that's going to be the first quarter of 2020 that we're going to be able to have that operational and...
Right, yeah, that's what we're shooting for. So maybe January, February, or March, something like that.
And I guess, if the bus rapid transit is successful on Dixie Highway, I guess, would that mean that you could scale it to other main arterial roads?
That is at least a hope of mine.
Sure,
I would love
sure.
for that to happen. Yeah, so our busiest routes, of course, are the 18, which is the Dixie Highway,
Mhm.
which also, it runs from the Gene Snyder of Dixie across Broadway all the way down to Preston,
Right.
essentially back to the Gene Snyder again. The 23 along Broadway, and then the 4th Street bus. So with that Broadway redevelopment plan you were speaking on earlier, I mean that would be great if we were able to connect Broadway from east to west and in that same way.
And so I guess, with this TARC LINC plan, I know that the online survey has ended. But what is a way that the average Louisvillian can get involved with the process? I'm sure that a lot of people have a lot of opinions on TARC.
Sure, yeah. So you can always just stay engaged with us. That's what we always want. We are always accepting feedback, and we review everything that we get. So whether you're just monitoring the news and the updates that are on our website, or getting in touch with us through social media, we collect all of that information, and we want to make sure that not only are we connecting people to the places they need to get to, but we like to hear how that service is working for you or not. And although the LINC submission for public feedback is closed because, like I said, we're going to reveal that in October, the wiki maps is still up there, and that's still connected to our planning department, so you could still get on that. You could still draw your desire lines, and we still will see that, and it's going to be continuing to develop even after we do that reveal in October.
That's fantastic. And one of the things that does get brought up by especially people out in the suburbs that use TARC is that some of the stops, especially for elderly or for children, it's very much like a metal stick in the ground sometimes.
Right.
And so I guess when you're designing a bus stop, what actually goes into that?
Sure. So there's a couple of things that go into that. One is if you need, in some instances, what you have to take into account is the access.
Sure.
Of it. Obviously we want it to be safe, but some places there isn't a sidewalk to get to it.
Right.
But people want a TARC stop there,
Mhm.
and so that metal stake in the ground is what we can do. But if it's a place where a shelter is needed, you can contact us. We pass it off to our planning department, and they look at that. And we're always, adding new shelters and cleaning those up.
Yeah, I saw that a lot more benches were brought into some of the stops, and that's a fantastic thing.
Right.
In Goldsmith, Bardstown, that's
right. And then once this BRT is up and running, I think it would be great if we could take those electric screens and just put those all over.
it seems like things are moving at TARC.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things, really the biggest thing that we've done this year is our MaaS platform, right? Our mobility as a service, which is our dynamic trip planner on our website and our mobility app, which you can get on your mobile phone.
What is the mobility app called?
It's just TARC. It's just called the TARC app. It's available. You can download it, in your app store.
We can put a link on that, yeah?
But really, the goal of that is to connect people, basically door to door. Something that's always been a huge issue for public transportation organizations is last mile and first mile, if you're familiar with that. So that's, the people who live a mile away from the first stop they can access public transportation to, and then from that last stop to the place where they need to get to, so for work or anything. And so that's really one of the things that we hope that Mobility as a Service is able to address, so that you can, you can ride your bike, you can walk, or you can take Uber or Lyft. And we partnered with them and LouVelo as well. So all of those people come together because, and that's something that's really new, and public transportation is not sure how those partnerships are going to work exactly. That's still in development. But one thing that that brought everyone to the table is the desire to just give customers more choices and make sure that if it's easier for them to get from where they are to where they need to go, that's something we can all get behind.
Have there been any talks about putting maybe a bike share or a scooter parking next to the TARC stops?
There have been, and we've reached out. We partnered with Bird here locally, and as more scooter companies are coming into town, we're always open to working with them as well. I think from speaking with them, the best solution is what they try to do is set those stations up closer to where our stops are at, our major stops for those high density areas. And the LouVelo, bike locations, that's all being taken into consideration as well as we get the LINC plan.
Absolutely. I can just only imagine some of the suburban areas like Hikes Point. Can you imagine if they had a bike station outside of the Kroger? Right. I would single-handedly transform that whole area.
That would be great.